Bone, joint, and muscle injuries, they can happen without warning. That's why UPMC Orthopedic Care provides convenient walk-in access at our injury clinics throughout the region. No appointments are needed, just walk in for expert evaluation and exceptional care by our team of orthopedic specialists. Clinics are located in Carlisle, Lidditz, Harrisburg, and Enola. For directions and hours or to learn more, visit upmc.com/injuryclinic.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Pennsylvania High School Football Report podcast, a very special Super Bowl edition. We have a very special guest coming up, Chad Henne, who's got a couple Super Bowl rings with the Kansas City Chiefs, former Wilson Bulldog quarterback. But before we get into that, I got Dan Sostek here with me. Dan, what's up, my man?
Not much. Just getting ready for the Super Bowl where two teams will play, and I'll watch and not root for anyone.
We got Eric Epler here as well. You hear him laughing. Eric, what's going on with you, my man?
I'm doing well, Brian. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. You know what I'm noticing, Epler, right off the rip, for the people who can't see, we always say this to get a video. The past couple of weeks, we've really complimented Dan on filling out the mustache.
Yes.
Now he's got the beard going a little bit here.
He does. FBI agent Don Sostek, FBI agent.
Yeah, Don Sostek, as the Pennsylvania
looking good. He's looking good.
Newspapers person. Yeah, I actually like the beard, Dan. Yeah, he's showing his Don Sostek
there it is.
award. Yeah.
Wait till he gets to like a couple more years. He'll be eligible. Get him a whole Raleigh finger stash. Curl it up, baby.
Birthday present. Some nice little mustache gel.
A nice mustache. What do they call it? Balm?
Yeah.
Or salve. What do they call that?
It can't just be a normal.
Looks much more mature, Dan. Looks sophisticated.
Yep.
Yeah. It was definitely on purpose and not just me not shaving for a couple days.
I think Dan and I've never noticed this, but I think Dan and I actually have the same glasses frame too.
Yeah, probably.
It's very similar.
Just go to the Pearl Vision at Capital City Mall. Shout out.
I don't go to Pearl Vision. No, I go a little more high end.
I give him credit, Epler. He keeps it shaped up better than you and I do. Ours is kind of.
Well, I get frustrated because literally, Brian, I could shape this up every 3 days. And it grows and grows and grows. It is, I don't get it. I'm older now. I think I should slow down.
This is the high school beard report.
There you go.
Well, it is Super Bowl week, and we have a super guest coming up. But real quick, guys, we got the Eagles. We got the Chiefs. We got, as we noted, some Pennsylvania flavor in here. Dan, real quick, Saquon Barkley's obviously the big name. MVP. Micah Parsons said he might be the best player in the nation, right?
He is.
In the world right now. He is pretty special.
Yeah.
So we got him with the Eagles. Jahan Dawson's with the Eagles too. Another Pennsylvania high school football guy. Who else we got real quick, Dan, with the Pennsylvania connections in the Super Bowl coming up?
Chiefs quarterback coach David Girardi played at Valley High School. Sky Moore is on injured reserve. Shady Side Academy. Not exactly a shining career for Sky so far, but he's on the team. Justin Watson, South Fayette grad. Matt Nagy, offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. You got Vic Fangio, Dunmore grad, who I think has a relative on Dunmore or was on the team recently. Yeah, there's a lot of the Tyler Scudder, and he is defensive quality control coach for the Eagles. Gettysburg High School coach of Iowa State for a little bit. You got Jeremiah Trotter Jr., St. Joe's Prep, starting to play a little more with N'Kobe Dean being out. Rennell Williams, assistant linebacker coach for the Eagles, went to Chester. Jahan Dotson, Nazareth guy. There's a lot of ties. We already talked about Rick Burkholder. It's a shame if don't get to see some of the guys like Sky Moore and stuff, but there's a lot of Philly ties.
And the big 33 streak will be intact.
Never going to end.
Never say never.
Obviously, the big 33's always had, someone who's played the big 33's been in every Super Bowl. So that's intact. Now we get down to the game. We were talking about this earlier before we hopped on the podcast, guys, and I think the Chiefs are going to beat the Eagles. Eagles fans, don't beat me up. I can't bet against Andy Reid. I think he doesn't miss. Epler brought up the, coming off of 2 weeks, Andy Reid numbers are insane. I think he's a better coach than Nick Sirianni, and I think they have maybe the best quarterback in the game in Patrick Mahomes. He just wins, and I think their defense is pretty solid. I think they're going to win, guys.
I don't think you keep saying this Reed versus Sirianni thing, but I just don't think it is a Reed versus Sirianni thing. I think it's a Reed versus Vic Fangio thing. And then I think it's a Kellen Moore versus Steve Spagnuolo thing. And I think Fangio is like as equipped to deal with an Andy Reid offense as any coach. He's one of the best defensive coordinators in the history of the sport.
Well, Spags is going to eat. He's going to chew Kellen Moore up and spit him out, though, right?
I agree with the analysis. I forget who said it, but I agree with this entirely. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game because they're both teams that really dominate possession. I like the Eagles. I think they're a more talented football team. I think that defensive front is going to eat up that Kansas City offensive line. I think that as we've seen in the other Super Bowl Patrick Mahomes lost, the Buccaneers ate up the Chiefs offensive line. I think that can happen again. I think Jalen Carter is going to be unblockable in this game. I think that the Eagles have more high-end talent on both sides of the ball. And I think people are overthinking a little because of the Mahomes aura. I think it's going to be a close game just because of the terms. I like the Eagles. So
I'm just curious to know how many tickets are put in legally or otherwise on Saquon scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, especially with Gainwell out too. They're not even going to
score. It's got to be millions and millions. Yes, especially with Gainwell out. Dan's right. I mean, the Eagles are the best offensive line that I've seen in a while. Saquon just cannot be slowed down. I don't see this as a low scoring game. I think defenses get thrown aside in this one.
I'm just saying because of the time of possession. I think these teams.
I understand. I just don't think. I think there's going to be chunk play after chunk play in this Super Bowl. I really do. Because you want to soften them up. You have to. Everybody's talking about the defenses and yes, they're good statistical wise, but I just think that this is going to be a high scoring game. I think the total is too low, and I like the Eagles too. I know. Didn't they want to kill Sirianni by week 3 or 4?
I think I was one of them.
Didn't they want to bury him under City Hall in Philly?
I'm not a big fan of his antics. Like, I don't like the yelling at the fans things. Like, but I actually an okay coach.
I mean, you know.
On the flip side of you guys, quote from Colin Cowherd, they may not even get into the red zone about the Eagles in this game.
You cited Colin Cowherd, so now
I didn't say he was right. I didn't say he was right or wrong.
That makes me feel even better. I mean, Colin.
That's so people can be shocked and read his tweet out loud, just like you did.
Yeah,
that's all that is. It's all it is.
I'm riding with Andy Reid. The Big Red don't miss.
Against Mahomes and Reid, I agree completely with that. It's very
sleeping on Fangio. That guy is as good a defense scorer. I mean, it is funny. You do probably have two of the greatest defensive coordinators who were not good head coaches in NFL history. It's Spagnuolo and Fangio. And then you got Matt Nagy and
Can Fangio get lit up with the Dolphins or something though?
I mean, every defensive coordinator has been lit up before. I think he's pretty clearly one of the best defensive coordinators ever.
See, I think that the thing is Dan doesn't want the Chiefs to keep chipping away at his New England Patriots.
This has nothing to do with want. I picked the Chiefs last year. There's nothing that they can do this year that will have me worried.
I'll tell you what, there's our picks. We got a good guest coming up. Let's get to our guest right now. How about that guy?
Yeah, let's get to the expert. We'll ask him.
Bone, joint, and muscle injuries, they can happen without warning. That's why UPMC Orthopedic Care provides convenient walk-in access at our injury clinics throughout the region. No appointments are needed, just walk in for expert evaluation and exceptional care by our team of orthopedic specialists. Clinics are located in Carlisle, Lidditz, Harrisburg, and Enola. For directions and hours or to learn more, visit upmc.com/injuryclinic.
All right, guys, we're here with our very special guest this week, Chad Henne, former Wilson Bulldogs, Pennsylvania high school football star. Obviously had a great college and NFL career. Chad, I guess, first of all, we appreciate you hopping on the podcast with us, man. To start things off, kind of tell us what you're up to these days and what you got going on these days.
Yeah, so when I retired, I came back home. We built our house here in about 2016, so we're in the Sinking Spring area. Wilson High School, where I went to high school, joined Coach Contafio and SVS Sports and some of his camps, and we've been running that ever since. And I also do individual with my 24-7 QB, individual camps there with quarterbacks, and also help out at the Wilson High School football team as well.
Yeah, you stayed super busy and whatnot, and obviously we got you on here because The Kansas City Chiefs are in the Super Bowl again. They're playing the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend. And I got to tell you, I always thought about it like when I watched your career from afar and kind of watched them when you retired, you guys coming off a Super Bowl win there. And I'm looking this week at Jason Kelsey's kind of down in New Orleans walking around. He retired and they're back in the Super Bowl. That's one thing I always think about with you guys. Like when you step away and your team goes back, you're like, man, if I could have just hang on 1 or 2 more years. I mean, how do you watch these guys? A lot of them I know you played with and still know, still playing the Super Bowls, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I retired, it was 15 years, and the coaching staff and even Brett Veach, our GM, wanted me to come back. But I felt like even prior to that season, whether we made it to the Super Bowl or not, I kind of had my mind made up that this was probably going to be my last year. And of course, when you do see it 2 years in a row, they go back-to-back Super Bowls, and you're like, man, and my wife will tell you, man, why didn't we say, not only the Super Bowls, get to meet Taylor Swift, like our daughter gets to meet her, all that hoopla. But yeah, I don't miss the regular season and all the preparation, but when it gets to playoff times and when you actually got to play in a couple of those games and help your team to get to where they're at, that really like kind of itches at me. Like, man, if I would have stayed another 2 years, I could have had a possibility of winning 2 more.
When you watched them play, obviously last year, and you're going to watch them play this weekend, what's it like to watch these guys that you played with in this game, in the Super Bowl, knowing what it's like?
Well, it's amazing. I mean, it shows just the consistency of how they've been going about their business, the day-to-day process. And to get to this level is so hard because each and every year you have a different team, you have different players coming in, and just trying to build that bond, get guys to buy into our system and how we go about our things with Coach Reed and what he wants and expects out of everybody. It's a difficult process, but they have such great leaders and Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, guys that have been there for so many years that they really kind of get guys to buy in and really get to where they're at.
You lived the dream. We all grow up playing in the backyard and all. I used to have the Super Bowl tape. You watch all the Super Bowls on it and stuff. Everybody dreams of that. You grew up and you play at Wilson and had a great career there, and you go to college and you end up in the NFL and you actually get to a Super Bowl. What is it like to be a part of that and play in a game like what's going down this weekend?
It's definitely a dream come true. When you're a kid, you dream about those moments, never thinking that you're going to get the opportunity because very small percentage of kids get there. It shows all the hard work that you put in, all the relationships. It's just not me. It's a great team aspect, great coaches, and just the fight to stay in it that long to get to that opportunity in that moment. It's just one of those dream come true.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about it. You used to be kind of the biggest connection to Berks County on the Chiefs. Now they've got another one in Taylor. Has there ever been any cross? Because I think you're only like 4 years older than Taylor Swift, right? She born 1989. That's the album, both from Berks County. Has there ever been any crossover between Chad Henne and Taylor Swift?
No. Yeah, nothing, personally. Obviously, when Travis started dating her, Steve Savage, one of my buddies who owns, Savage Auto Group, his dad, Fred Savage, is like best friends with Scott Swift. So they live next to each other in Tampa, and they always were trying to get to me, well, what's Travis like? How's this relationship going to go about? And I said, he's a great guy. Relationships are relationships. I can't build the relationship for him, but I know he's a great person. He's a caring person and cares about people. They hit it off well, but I've never really had that personal encounter with her.
Nice. So you could take a little fraction of a credit for their budding relationship. But kind of along those lines, though, obviously she kind of adds a whole nother, just her celebrity adds a whole nother dimension to kind of the Chiefs and the media frenzy around it. But I mean, it's these Super Bowl weeks in general, even with or without Taylor Swift, being completely insane. Can you kind of take us through what it's like going through kind of the media stuff with a Super Bowl? Because everybody says it's like 10 times different. It's like there's nothing that can really prepare you for your first one.
Each stage is very heightened. I mean, every time you win divisional game, the AFC Championship, all those games, more and more media come to your facility. There's different spots. We couldn't even hold our media inside our facility. We had to go to the stadium, accommodate that many people. And then when you get to the Super Bowl, like you said, Monday night, you have the big media night. It's about an hour process where you sit in a booth. You got people from all over the world asking you not only football questions, random questions. Some are fun, some are, kind of off topic. But once you get out of that hoopla, I mean, it's usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is the big media days. Then it's back to game week. You're back in your preparation. You're practicing. You're going to meetings. If your family shows up, you get to meet with them for a little bit. But really, it's just all about the game at that point and how you can win that football game.
Chad, how do you sort of deal with that sort of ordeal? Because it, like you said, it's heightened from week to week. It sort of grows and you can't really control it. Do you just kind of find ways to adapt and just get it done so you can get back to that portion? Or how do you sort of embrace all that when you know at the end of the week, you're just trying to win a football game and everything else around you is growing?
Yeah, I think you definitely embrace it because some of the people don't know all the players on the football team. Getting to know people's backgrounds, where they came from, how they got to this point, what their day-to-day process is about is kind of cool to hear different stories. The NFL is one of those that it's so diverse in a locker room. You got people from all over, grow up in different areas. And to hear those stories, you kind of embrace that. And you want to tell your story. And you want to get it out to the people that are watching, your fans. And they get to know you a little bit better. So you kind of dive into it. You enjoy the moment. But at the same time, it's, back to work once that's done and really getting our preparation for the football game coming up.
Do you deck the house out in KC colors, Andy Reid, full-size cardboard cutouts? Like, what do you do for the Super Bowl? Or were you planning to go down? Or did you have an opportunity to go down?
We put out a Kansas City Chiefs flag out front. When my wife and I take our dog for the walk in the morning, we're decked out in our Kansas City, snow caps. And, we put the dog in a red collar. But we have encountered, obviously, many, many Eagles fans around us. Some of my best friends are Eagles fans, which is, rightfully so. We grew up in this area. Philadelphia is one of our teams. It's just fun business. But I got the other night at the basketball game, I had an older gentleman behind me. He's like, how the heck do you just not root for the home team? I said, well, when you play with an organization for 5 years and they've taken you to 3 Super Bowls and you won 2, it's kind of hard not to root for them. So even though it's a home team and obviously Saquon and, a local kid from Whitehall, it's great to see those guys, get the opportunity. But at the same time, it's one that paid my bills and, gave me greater opportunities than I ever had.
So you saw a lot of Patrick Mahomes over your career, and it's kind of hard to ask how has he grown, because it felt like, after that first year of sitting, he was just arguably the best quarterback in the league from the jump. But, just watching him kind of grow up and kind of become who he is now, how different is he from when you first arrived in Kansas City to where he is now? Like, where are kind of the areas where you think he's kind of developed the most?
Yeah, I think he just understands the whys. Obviously, first of all, when you're young, you just want to dive into the offense and know as much as you can to set you up for success. So understanding the routes, the system, how to run the system is one of the biggest things. And he did a great job. Obviously, he took it by reins his first year starting. Nobody knew how good he was going to be. We threw for 50 touchdowns and all these yards, went to an AFC championship. Just his film study, his process is detail-oriented. Every morning is very similar to what we do. First and second down to third down to red zone. His note-taking ability, film study, understanding the defenses and saying, hey, this play matches with this defense. This is where I'm going to attack it. And you could really see that progress as we got older and into the film room. But now he understands, hey, I got a good defense. Before, our defense was just average. So now he doesn't have to take those calculated risks where I have to throw the ball down the field every time to create a big pass. I can check the ball down, keep the ball in our hands, and let our defense do their role as well.
I'm glad Dan brought it because I wanted to dig in on this Chiefs team a little bit. I think what they put together has been special. And I think, I was telling Dan's a big Belichick guy. He's a Patriots fan. I like the Chiefs in this game because I feel like Andy hasn't been missing lately. And I feel like he's probably in that discussion as well for maybe one of the greatest of all time by now. What makes this Chiefs team special? And how do you feel about Andy Reid and what's it like to play for that guy?
What makes the team special is obviously, like I said, there's new guys coming in. You got DeAndre Hopkins that, was a special receiver even before he got to the Chiefs. Now he's older, but at the same time, that's where you buy into Coach Reid's system where he takes a guy that does things well from another team and he'll implement it in our offense. Coach Reid's always learning. He's diving into everything that he can possibly can just to exploit the best opportunities for the players that he has on our team. I'm sure you guys have seen it. He's taken a little Post-it note of a guy that was a janitor in Green Bay, and the guy said, run this play. And Coach Reed will say, okay, if I like it, I might do a little bit something different, but I'll take it from anybody. He's willing to learn from everybody, which makes him, one of the greatest because he's constantly learning. But at the same time, he's applying what our players do well and applies it to our system.
I think that's one of the really fun things about watching the Chiefs sometimes is because it felt like you guys would pull out a play. It was like from 1942 or something and put like a modern spin on it, and it would just look so neat, and it would work. Seems like it always works when Andy calls it. So when you put it in perspective, like, where do you think Andy Reid ranks? Where do you think this kind of Chiefs dynasty now, I think is fair to call it, they're on this run, where do you think they rank in the kind of the hierarchy of things?
And obviously I'm personally biased, being part of that system and all the wins that they have and, Super Bowl championships, AFC championships. You can't go wrong with Bill Belichick and 7 Super Bowls. Until they get to that point, it's hard to say, hey, has he surpassed him? Has he done this or that? Like, you can't even imagine getting to 7 Super Bowls. Now, are they on the pace to do it? Absolutely. But one of those years, they're going to have a little slip up. Somebody's going to knock them off. Somebody's going to beat them. And how do they rebound from that? How do they learn? And how do they keep growing? But like I said before, Coach Reid is never going to stop growing or learning. So that's what separates him from a lot of coaches. A lot of coaches go into a system and say, this is what we're running. I don't care what we have. This is what I know. This is how we're doing it. And then you don't see the teams being successful. But Andy Reid is one of those great ones that says, hey, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to say, this guy does this well. I'm going to put in our system to make our team better.
So, Chad, you've been retired for a couple of years now. And just how different is it, watching these games now on TV? I mean, because obviously you were a back of the pad for a while, so you kind of watched the game from the sidelines, right? And kind of had that analytical second voice, like a second quarterback coach, so to speak. But now you're watching kind of on TV a lot. How do you kind of go about watching these games as more of a fan? Is it hard to kind of shut off, that quarterback brain where you kind of watching the routes and watching everything? Or do you kind of have a different mode of watching football when you're just sitting on the couch?
It's very difficult because you see formations that we've run and you kind of see stuff coming about and you're like, all right, this is probably zone read. This is an RPO. This is going to be a shot play. My wife and kids will say I drive them nuts because not that I call out the plays, but like once you see something, you see the formation or whatever, there's only like 3 or 4 plays that come off that. And it's like, oh, this is this. And they're like, can you just watch the game? We want to know what's going to come next. It's very hard to turn it off. But at the same time, I still enjoy it. I love watching them play, having success too.
What do you think is the key to this matchup, from kind of obviously being a little further away, but still being sort of familiar with it being a matchup from a couple of years ago?
Well, I mean, first of all, the Chiefs have to shut down Saquon. So that's the biggest thing that they need to do on the defensive side. And obviously, Hurts can run the ball. So you got a dual threat quarterback back there. Not only do you have to stop Saquon, you have to stop Hurts in the run game as well. And then exploit them to say, beat us passing the ball. So it's just like the Bill Belichick philosophy. It's saying, take away what they're good at and see if you can beat us with your secondary adjustment there. As the Chiefs, it's just, keep attacking. They're still going to have to run the football. I don't think they're going to have, be able to throw the ball all the time just because of that defensive front and the secondary with Vic Fangio, what he presents out there. He makes it difficult. He was with the Denver Broncos that we played in division years back. So we know his system. He knows us. So it's just going to be a great matchup of how you can attack different pieces on both sides of the ball.
Chad, I don't know how you feel about predictions, but my bosses would schedule a competency meeting with me if I didn't ask for your pick. Could we have your pick and maybe some reasons behind it?
Well, I mean, obviously I can't root against the Chiefs, but, I feel this is the moment. They've been in battle tested. They've been in close games. They've won close games. Both sides obviously have a great coaching staff, but obviously, Coach Reid is just one of those guys with 2 weeks to prepare. It's very hard to beat. You can see his bye week record coming off a bye week and you get an extra week. It's just ridiculous. I think it's like 26-2. So that extra week helps them. And being in that game for the last, 3 years in a row, it sets an advantage as well. Even though the Eagles have been there, obviously 23 and then in 17, they have guys that have been on that staff and players that know the process. But I feel like the Chiefs have the advantage in that. Now they just have to go out and play, good football. Turnover battle is going to be a part of it. Protecting the ball. Obviously the Eagles are going to try to run the clock out, keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes. If they can control the clock, keep it balanced, and attack, I feel the Chiefs have the advantage there.
Well, Chad, it's a remarkable story, man, to come up out of PA and live everybody's dream and have the career that you have, man, and to be able to sit back and watch a game like this. I know you'll be definitely probably on the edge of your seat watching your guys play, guys that you played with out there. So we'll be excited too, man. We're excited about this game too. So we appreciate you joining us there. All right, guys, that was Chad Henne. What did we learn? What did we get from Chad Henne on the Super Bowl week? What do we take from it?
We got to give Chad Henne a lot of credit for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce getting together because of his fine recommendation. I'm just kidding. I mean, obviously, there aren't many people that know Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs more than Chad does, and pretty cool to get his perspective on everything they've accomplished. And looking forward to the game, we'll see. I think we all have various degrees of how we think the game's going to go, but I think we all agree it's going to be a good one.
I tell you, the Eagles got it coming to karma, man. Their fans they've been mean and awful to everybody. Karma has a way of coming back around too. The energy you put out into the world.
Yeah, but they were like that in 2017 too.
Chiefs by 2 touchdowns.
Chiefs by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Wow.
Minus 12 and a half.
That's not going to happen.
No.
Minus 12 and a half.
Although if you took that alternate line, you might be able to buy a condo in Boca.
I think I am. Minus 12 and a half.
Lay the 12 and a half. There you go.
Eagles 28, Kansas City 13.
Yeah,
Lord have mercy.
That's not going to happen here. You could bet that exact score, Dan.
Yeah.
And you could buy new radial tires.
I could also just drive over to Wawa and buy a lottery ticket too.
Yes.
He loves Wawa. He eats sushi out of the Wawa, which...
No, I eat sushi out of the Sheets.
Well, what?
One time and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Sheets does not have sushi.
It was a branded sushi. It was pretty good.
I just feel like you're playing with fire, eating gas station. You know how you see those things on Twitter where like they have like photos of people and they say, "Oh, this guy ate sushi and he had a parasite in it," and this like looks like their body's filled up with worms.
That's like buying a crab cake at a rest stop in Kansas.
I did extensive Googling before buying it, and it said it was a reputable company, so I bought it. It was pretty good.
Sure.
Gas station sushi, rolling the dice, brother. That's all.
Ridiculous. I've never heard of something.
Well, I hope you guys have some good Super Bowl party plans, or at least just going to get you something good to eat, kick back, watch the game. I definitely am. Keep it low key here until I can get some more help about me. But my wife and I are going to grab some wings and see how this thing plays. I'm excited for it. I do think either way, it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Excited for the halftime show too. Should be fun.
I don't care one bit about a halftime show.
We're going to see everybody dance around and
make fun of Drake,
which is the Grammys turn into Drake. Just, I don't know. He can't go out in public anymore.
Drake, come on the High School Football Report and defend your own.
Are Miley and Nicki Minaj still beefing? Is that what they say? Is that what the young kids say, Dan? Beefing?
I don't know. I'm a Miley Cyrus fan now.
How do you not like Miley Cyrus?
Miley Cyrus is super talented.
She's a rebel.
I mean, I liked Miley Cyrus. She was like one of my middle school crushes because we were like the same age pretty much. So
now we need to get out of here.
Yeah. She also has the best New Year's show, but they canceled it because of the college football playoffs. So
yeah.
Anyway, so look, we got a podcast this week. We'll come back in 2 weeks. We'll actually, because we already got, guess what? We recorded 2 weeks in advance. We'll just let you guys know that. So maybe we'll touch on the Super Bowl down the road.
Destroying the illusion.
Exactly.
Anyway, PennLive.com, we got a bunch of stuff there. We had a signing day this week, so you can go read about a bunch of kids and where they're going, big times in their life. Dan, tell them how to find you on Twitter.
Dan_Sostek.
Yep.
I'm at 3Jacker.
And I'm at Sports by B. Linder, and our producer, Megan, is at Savvy Literate on Twitter and X. Until next week, we'll see you then.
Bone, joint, and muscle injuries, they can happen without warning. That's why UPMC Orthopedic Care provides convenient walk-in access at our injury clinics throughout the region. No appointments are needed, just walk in for expert evaluation and exceptional care by our team of orthopedic specialists. Clinics are located in Carlisle, Lidditz, Harrisburg, and Enola. For directions and hours or to learn more, visit upmc.com/injuryclinic.